Hey, today I'm going to show you how to take care of a newborn baby chick. If you're going to be their mama and you're going to brood some babies, there's a few things that you need to know. There's a few things you need to have before you start brooding some baby chicks, or before you start taking care of them. And that is a proper brooding area, a heat source, proper food and water, and proper bedding. But stick around and I'm going to share a few tips and things with you to brood your new baby chicks. This right here is a living oxymoron. This is fragile strength in a little bitty bird. These are the toughest, most durable little creatures, but they're so fragile and they can die so easy if they're not taken care of. But today I'm going to share a few things that you need to do before you ever even buy a baby chick. And I'm just going to give you some tips and some how-tos. You don't have to stress over brooding baby chicks because they are pretty tough. The very first thing that you should know about brooding baby chicks, let me put them back in here, is you need a proper brooding area. You can use the plastic bins and you can use the boxes. I like using the metal water troughs. You want something to be about at least 18 inches high. Chicks, after a couple weeks, they can jump, and you want to make sure you have some wiring or chicken wire over the top of it, because after a couple weeks, they will be able to jump out of this or fly out of this, and you don't want that to happen. But you can use the plastic bins or maybe a cardboard box, but I don't like using those because if the heat lamp falls over, or it can also melt the plastic tubs. If it gets in the pine shavings, it can be a fire hazard. But you want to make sure you have your bin and you want to put it in a place where there is no drafts and it's not accessible to your household pets, because if they get to them, you will not have any more chicks. But I like covering them with a screen so they can't get out, because in a couple weeks they're going to be jumping, and they can jump up on top of the water feeder or the feeders and they can escape and get out. So you definitely want to cover them up with some sort of wire. When you have a brooding space, you want to give them at least 1/2 square foot, I guess, per bird. For the first 2 weeks, but after 2 weeks you want to up that to about a square foot per bird, just to give them a little bit of area to roam around in. I did good this year because I only got 10. I usually my migrant worker shop is filled up and I have at least 20 birds. I got 3 leghorns, 3 Easter eggers, and 3 silver lace Wyandottes. But like I said, I did really well this time, so I'm proud of myself. The next thing you want to make sure is that they have a heat source. You can get a heat lamp, or you can screw in just a heat element into the lamp. I like using the 250 watt light bulb. It does stay on all the time. Some people don't want to stress their chicken with a light on them all the time, but I don't think it seems to bother them. It's just a lot of common sense on, I guess, raising baby chicks. You don't need to stress out. They'll be just fine. But when you do have a heat source, you want to make sure for the first week that the temperature at the bottom of the brooding area is at least 95 to 100 degrees, at least for the first 2 weeks. And then after that, you can up the degree for about 5 degrees lower until they're about a month old. But I like clipping the light on one side, because if the chicks get too hot, they can move away from the lamp. If they are starting to get cold again, they can just get right back up under the lamp and warm themselves. They like to stretch out their wings and sort of lay and heat themselves up. Something that's always good to have is backup lights. Always have backup lights, because if the light goes out, you want to make sure you have one accessible to screw back in, because you want to keep your baby chick's body temperature at a constant heat temperature. I'm going to tell you a little quick story. We had tornado, we always have tornado weather here, but in the spring, but we lost power and the light went off, and I had just got my chicks. So I come out here and I took a blanket, and they like to lay on top of each other anyway, but I put them under a blanket, and the power was off for about 8 hours or so, and they did just fine. So do not stress out. I cannot emphasize that enough. They're fragile, but they will survive. But they bunched up. They were fine when the power came back on, and they're real durable little birds. So, like I said, don't stress out. The next thing I'm going to talk about is bedding. The reason you want bedding is because when they pee and poop in the brooding area, you want to make sure they stay as dry as possible, and it absorbs their poop and pee. And the best thing that I like to use is just the coarse pine shavings. That's the best thing. But you can use chopped straw, you can use hemp bedding. You just fill it up about an inch or so thick with the shavings on the bottom. You can use newspaper, but I find that newspaper is a little slick, and I don't like it. So what I use is pea pads, and they work great, and they absorb and keep the moisture off of them. I change their bedding about every 2 or 3 days. A lot of people change it every day, but I think that's overkill. And they'll be just fine if you just make sure they just have a clean, dry area, because you don't want moisture or mold to grow, because their little lungs are vulnerable at this time. They don't need to be breathing all that stuff. Do not use cedar chippings. You can, but I would say don't do that, because the cedar has like an aromatic oils that are in them, and like I said, their lungs are immature and they can get easily irritated, and like I said, they just have sensitive lungs, so it's just best not to use the cedar shavings. Pine shavings are the best. The next thing is to have proper food and water containers, chick size. They can get bigger as the weeks go by, and as they get bigger, you can increase the size of these. But just to start off, I would definitely use the chick size ones. You can use for water, you can use a Pyrex dish. They're heavy and won't dump over, but if you do that, make sure you put some gravel, or you put large pebbles in there, so if they get in the water, they don't drown. And that's just something smart to do. Make sure your containers are clean, and make sure you change your water every day, because if they get droppings in there, it's just not a good thing for them to drink water that poop or pee or is in it. Sometimes poultry will have salmonella, and you just really do not want them pooping and peeing and them eating out of the same thing. So change that every day. That is something you do want to do. If your chicks are not drinking when you get them, just take their heads and dip their beaks down in the water to get them started. It's sort of like a little pump, but they will start drinking if you just start them up and stick their beak in there. Food, I only get egg layers. I don't get broilers or anything like that. But if you get egg layers, get about a 20% protein starter for them. If you have broilers or if you have game birds, I would start off like with a 24% protein chick starter. After they get to be about 8 to 10 weeks, you might want to switch them to 18 to 19. And you will not kill your chick if you just have some regular laying chicken crumble. They can eat that. Just, get them some starter as soon as you can. It's not rocket science, but it's good to have them on a starter high protein diet when they come out. Water, sometimes chickens get pasty butt, and you can put a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in their water, and this will help prevent them from getting that pasty butt or that poop buildup on their vent, and that's really helpful. Something else is when you're watering chicks, make sure that they always have water. You don't want to place the water up underneath the light because the light will tend to dry it up quickly. But always make sure that your chicks have water. It's very important that they stay hydrated. Something that I also add as they're about a week old or so is roosting poles. What I do is I just cut a stick out of the woods and place them on 2 boards or 2 bricks, and what that does, it just allows them, chickens and baby chicks, they like to hop up on things, they like to roost. Even as a baby chick, they like to roost. But like I said, that doesn't start until they're about 2 weeks or 3 weeks old. So, and it also helps them not to perch up on their feeders, because if they perch up on their feeders, they will poop on them and they'll get really nasty. So it'll prevent them from perching up there. When they get a little bit older and they start feathering, you can take them outside and put them in like a wire gate and put them in the sun. Don't let it be cold outside, or if it is cold, don't put them outside. But you might want to get them a little sandbox so they can take like little dust baths or something like that. They love sunshine, and like I said, if it's warm enough and they're feathering, you can take them outside just for short periods of time. When you pick them up and you put them outside, just a quick tip, move slowly. I know sometimes kids will jerk and move fast and it'll scare them, but if you move in a slow motion, it tends to not frighten them as bad. So just remember that when we're handling them and picking them up. One more important thing. Chickens, baby chicks, and any kind of poultry tend to carry, or they can carry, salmonella. And salmonella is a bacteria that usually passes from, or it passes through food or through your mouth. I would not let children that are 5 years old or under handle the chickens unsupervised. Young children are especially at risk of illness because their immune system it's still developing, and they're more likely to put their fingers in their mouth. Sometimes they will even try to put the chick in their mouth. Any child under 5. But just watch them, make sure they don't stick their fingers in their mouth and stuff like that. And if they do hold them and they do pick them up, just make sure they wash their hands thoroughly with warm, soapy water to make sure they get rid of all the bacteria. And it's also good for you to wash your hands after you handle baby chicks and chickens. You do not want to get salmonella. Salmonella can be deadly. It's usually not for adults or older than 5 or 7. But like I said, if you've got kids under 5, you make sure you watch them and make sure they wash their hands thoroughly. We hope we helped you out today. So if you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any more comments or questions, leave them in the comment and subscribe. Bye, y'all.